Okay, the recording has been started. So, yesterday we have discussed about the OOPS introduction. So OOPS is an acronym for Object Oriented Programming System. It is one of the programming paradigms. Okay, paradigm means one of the ways to execute the task. One of the ways, one of the concepts. Paradigm is one of the concepts, right? And there are some key concepts where we have to understand. Like we have to understand what is a class, what is an object, what is encapsulation, inheritance, right? And polymorphism and abstraction. Yesterday we have completely discussed about what is class. Now we know what is class. If anyone is asking you what is a class, you can just say that a class is a blueprint from which objects are created or constructed. It's just like a plan, right? It's just like a plan. And we have also discussed about the syntax. You have access modifier followed by the class keyword, class name. Okay, it can be any meaningful name that you can give. So there is a block. Inside the block you can have variables, methods, and constructors. So again, if you see the things that I have mentioned in square brackets are optional things, right? It's really not necessary to mention these things, but some cases, based upon the requirements, you have to use the access modifiers. As also, you have to extend one class to another class. Okay, we will discuss about this as well, right? And there are 4 types of access modifiers: so public, private, protected, and default. Right? The allowed access modifiers are only 2. Okay, there are 4 types in Java, but the allowed access modifiers are only 2: public and default. The private and protected are not allowed. So we have understood about the rules that needs to be followed for the compilation and the rules that needs to be followed for the execution, right? And we have discussed about the static blocks also. Today we will be discussing about what methods in Java. So we have completed what is class syntactically. Now we are very much comfortable to define a class. Now we should also understand about the methods in Java. Actually, what is the scope of a method in Java? Why one has to go for a method, right? And what are the advantages that we have when you create your own methods? You will understand these things today. Okay. So I can say that let me give you the points, the basic points that you have to remember. So a method is a block of code. What is a method? Method is just a block of code. Okay. That gets grouped together. Grouped together to perform a specific task or to perform a certain task. That is just a block of code. See, if I take one example, right? So we know this. We have been seeing one method every single day. What is that one? What is that method we have been seeing every single day, right? So when you have a class, so we have come across this method very often. What is that method? Main method. Public static void. If I ask you, is the main method is the user-defined method or the predefined method? I would say that Java people has designed this main method. Yeah, this is the major method. I can say that this is the important method in Java programming language. Why it is so important? Because the execution always starts from the main method. So I can say that this main method is defined by Java people. I can say that this is predefined method. Yes or no? This predefined method. Since the main method has been created or designed by the Java people, I can say that this is a predefined method, right? So the control starts executing all the instructions that is available inside the main method. Likewise, the Java has also given the developers an option to design the user-defined methods. User-defined methods. You can write your own logic, right, for the reusability purpose. Reusability purpose. You can write your own logic inside a method for the reusability purpose. In order to do that, you need to create the user-defined methods, right? So we need to understand how one can create the user-defined method. Syntactically, we have to follow some rules. To design our user-defined method, you will have to what? You will have to follow some rules. Follow some rules. First, we will understand about the rules. Then we will understand how the control is transferred to that method, so that all the instructions inside the method gets executed, right? So now what I'm trying to say is that is a block of code that gets grouped together to form a certain task. Second point, okay, I'm also saying that The methods are used to achieve. The Java methods are used to achieve the code reusability. Okay, we will understand this better in the going forward. What is this? Why it is called as reusability? So this is one of the keywords that you should consider. Method means code reusability, right? And the third point is, for example, let me take one method here. Let me take one method. I am just taking a method. Don't worry about the syntax. I'm saying that void addition. Okay, void addition, something like I am keeping one statement inside. Integer a equal to 10, integer b equal to 20. Right? System dot out dot println. So I would like to perform the arithmetic operation of a and b. Right? So I can say that this is one of the Java methods. So I can also say that this is the user defined method. Okay? And if I try to execute this code, if I try to perform the compilation and execution, so what happens usually? You don't see anything in the console now. You don't see what? You don't see anything in the console. Let me show that for you. Java 2. Let me save this as a.java. Right? Let me start performing the compilation. Java space a.java. Java space. You are not seeing anything in the console. But you can ask me, sir, you have defined a method, but this method has some logic inside. Some instructions are there within this method. Right? Why this is not getting executed? Always remember, only the instructions that you are placing in the main method will get executed. But then how can you execute this? How you can invoke this method? How you can call this method? That is the question. We have to do something to transfer the control from the main method to the user defined method, so that the user defined method will be called and all the instructions gets executed accordingly. You need to understand how to transfer the control first. Right? After transferring the control, the respective method gets executed. So I can say a point like, now you focus about this. The methods can be executed or invoked or called only when the control is transferred to that respective method. Respective methods. Yeah, the fourth point is the main method is the most important method in Java. Okay. Right? The main method, which is what's public static void main. The main method, the most important method in Java. Right? Now let us understand the syntax. Syntax to define a Java method. Syntax to define a Java. Okay, the method syntax says, okay, and there are some optional things and there are some mandatory things. Let us understand about the mandatory things. You must take a return type. Okay? Followed by, okay, you should declare the method with a name, any meaningful name. Return type followed by the method name. It can be anything depending upon the requirement. Okay, you would always choose to take a meaningful name, followed by the simple opening and closing simple brackets. Okay, and the block. So this is called as the method block. Okay, these are the what we call it as these are the mandatory things. If you want to define any method, these are the mandatory things. And also you should use the return keyword. Should also use the return keyword. These are the mandatory things. The optional things are you can go using access modifiers. Okay, there is a concept called access modifiers. Okay, followed by there is another optional thing called what? Throws exception. Exception. There is another optional thing called what? The parameter list. Parameter. Okay, inside this method you can have what? You can have variables, you can write logic, okay, and you can keep instructions. Let me keep it as variables and logics. Variables and logics. Okay, let us understand the optional things first. So when I say access modifier, again in Java method, like in the Java class, we are allowed to do what? We are allowed to use only two access modifiers. One is what? One is public and the second one is default. But in the methods, you are allowed to use all the access modifiers. Okay, let me write it down here. Hello, are we connected, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have just lost you for a second. Okay, then. Let us understand this. Okay, I can mention that in the above syntax, syntax, okay, the statements that is placed inside the square brackets are the optional entities. Even without that, you can execute the method. Okay, there are some places where you'll be using this access modifier. There are some places where you will be using this throws exception, and there are some places where you will be declaring the parameter list. But they are always optional. Without that, also it would work, right? And also, when you talk about the optional things, first of all, let's talk about the access modifier. The allowed access modifier. Allowed access modifiers for the Java methods are, okay, you public, private, protected, and default. Okay. All the access modifier are allowed. For example, let me say, okay, if I take a method, okay, I take a method something like I'm taking a method like return type is void, and the name of the method is, let me take it as method one itself. Okay. This is the method, simple method declaration, and you will be having a return keyword. I will tell you the purpose of this return keyword. We will understand this, right? You have an option to keep public. You have an option to keep the private as the access modifier. You have an option to keep the protected as an access modifier, protected. But you do not have an option to keep the default. Okay, when you don't keep anything, you have to define this method as the default method. So this method is called as a default method because when you are not declaring any access modifier, even though that is optional, but still you are not declaring it, it will be treated as a default access modifier. The same thing that we have seen in class, same thing is going to apply for the method also. It will be treated as default access modifier, not by the keyword, by the definition. Okay, it's just a saying. It is not like you have to use the default keyword. Without using default keyword, it will be treated as a default access modifier. You don't see this thing actually. You don't place this. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So these are the allowed access modifier, and there are some other access modifier. There are some other access modifiers that is used for different purposes. Different purposes based upon the requirements. Okay, we have some other access modifiers like static is there. You have the final keyword you have the abstract keyword you have something like native keyword, right? You have synchronized, and at last you have something like strict FA. Okay, even you can use these keywords as the access modifier just before the return time. Okay, so everything will be complete, don't worry about this. We will look into each and every keyword in detail. Okay, for now we are just trying to understand Okay, what are the keywords and what are the access modifiers that is allowed by a method? Okay, the major access modifiers are public, private, protected, and default. And also you can also place these keywords at these supporting keywords which is used for different purposes. Okay, these are also allowed, I'm saying. The next one is you have return type. Okay, let us talk about the return type. Okay, return type. So all the primitive data types are allowed in the return type placeholders. All the primitive data types, okay, as well as the class types are allowed in the return type placeholder. So how many primitive data types are there in Java? Can someone tell me how many primitive data types are there totally? Anyone? Hello? Can I get answers from you? How many primitive data types are there? Guys, you should not forget this, guys. You have what? You have you have byte, you have totally 8 are there. Byte, dot, feature, long, float, double, character, and boolean. Totally 8. We have discussed these things already. Why you are not answering, opening your mouth? Totally 8 primitive data types are there. So all these data types are allowed in place of return type. And also when I say class types, you have something like string, you have string buffer, you have, okay, you have collections, you have, okay, etc. Or you can say user defined classes here. So all these class types also allowed in place of what? Return type. In place of return type. Okay, the next one is what? Method name. The method name and how the method name has to be. The method name can be anything. You can use any method name. You can use any method name. Any method name, but it should be meaningful. But it is recommended to set a meaningful name. Okay. The next thing what we have after the method name, we have something like the parameter list. This is also an optional thing. So the parameter list says, okay, you can pass arguments. For example, so this is where, for example, this is where, okay, in this brackets you will be using the parameter list. It can be parameters can be like integer a comma integer b, okay, whatever it is, like boolean c. You'll be using the primitive data types, okay, and these are called as parameter list. Depending upon the situation, you're going to use this. Okay, basically, I can say that this parameter list is used to send the values to the methods so that the values will be logically get some manipulations, get the desired output. Desired output. Okay. Next one is what? Next one is we have something like the throws exception. Throws exception means there will be some cases, where the method, the behavior of the method, or else the behavior of the data in the runtime, there are high chances that you will be getting an exception. Yesterday we have got no runtime exception. For example, when you do something like 100 divided by 0, you will get what? You will get the that infinity exception, arithmetic exception you will get. So this is not one. Likewise, your logic is potential enough to generate some exceptions. To handle those exceptions, okay, we have to use this optional thing called what? The throws exception. We will understand this in the future classes. Okay, throws exception. Throws exception is used to handle the real-time exceptions. Okay, next one is what? Next one you have what? Variables, logics, and return keyword. Okay. Return keyword is mandatory. pass the value. Theoretically it is not making any sense. Okay, we will understand this practice. That's it. So we have discussed about access modifiers and a return type. We have discussed about method name, parameter list, close exception, optional category, and the return keyword, right? So let us design our own method, okay, by considering the non-optional, by considering the mandatory things. So return type followed by method name, okay, and return keyword. Now focus on this. See, now I am taking it to the paint screen. Focus, everyone focus here. We are going to define our own method. For example, method means simply I am taking that. I would just want to design a method so that I can call this method from the main method. Return type. What are the things that we can use? What are the data types that is accepted in place of return type? I am saying, you can use integer. You can use all the primitive data types. You have integer, you have long, you have short, you have something like byte, okay, and you have what? You have float, you have double, you have character, and you have boolean. Okay, but the one observation that you have to make is, if you do not like to use the primitive data types or the class types in place of return type, if you do not like to use any data types, right, you cannot keep this blank. You cannot keep this blank. If your requirement is not to use the primitive data type, okay, you cannot keep this blank. Instead of keeping it blank, you will be using a keyword called the void keyword. Void means what? You do not have to use any of the primitive data types or the class types, right? And if you see the method name, let us say that method name can be anything, but it has to be a meaningful name. For now, I am taking the method name as what? Testing. Let me take the name of the method as testing. We are trying to make out the actual method from the syntax. Nothing else we are doing. We are trying to make out the actual method from the syntax so that my method will be called, right? And I said, okay, we have this opening and closing simple brackets, okay, and you have the block. Okay, let me keep the block like that, and inside this block I just want to place one instruction which says system.out.println. I would say my own method, okay, my own, right? So now if you see, there is, you are following this instruction and there is something called the return keyword is there, right? So the void, okay, when I say the method return type is void, it is like this method is not going to return anything. You should understand that this method is not going to return anything. When you call this method, you just call this method, okay, you do not get anything. You do not get anything by just calling this method. What do you really mean is, for example, let us imagine this method like a kind of container, okay, and the name of the method is what? Testing. Our own method testing. If you send a request to this method, if you just hit this method, if you just transfer the control to this method, if you just hit this method with your request, you just call this method. Instead of hitting, I can say you just call this method, right? It is not going to return anything. You don't get anything as an output. You don't get anything as an output. You can just call it. Why you don't get anything as an output is because you are using the return type as void. Void means it will not return anything. You can hit this, it will just execute all the instructions. Apart from that, nothing it will do. It will execute all the instructions inside this method. Right? We will understand this better. Okay, now you tell me. I will be giving you a method. You should tell me what is a return type and what is the method name, right? Things like that. So when I declare my method name as something like integer addition, okay. Now you tell me what is the return type of this method. Hello? Hello, I'm audible, guys.
Yes, sir.
What is the return type of this method? Okay. Integer is a return type. This is the placeholder for the return type. You should say in this method the return type is integer. Integer is a return type. So what is the name of the method? At least say this. What is the name of this method?
Addition.
Addition is the name of the method, right? Name of the method, addition is the name. Okay, what is the return value? If I ask you what is the return value that is getting returned, 100. 100 is the value that is getting returned, right? Okay, so you have to identify the method like this. So if I give you another method, okay, in future in the project they would ask you to create a future by using a method. You should ask them what kind of return type that I can choose, what kind of method name that I can choose, what is the value that I want to return, what kind of value that I want to return. Okay, that understanding you should get. When I say the method is something like subtraction, okay. Now what is the return type for this? What is the return type?
There is no return type.
Yeah, I mean, no return type, but you should say void. Okay, what is the method name? Sub is the method name. What is the return value?
No value.
No value. So you said no value can be written because the void method cannot return anything. Okay, we know now we have understood about what are the actual keywords that we have to get acquainted with. Okay, by looking at this method, you should be in a position to say, okay, this is what the return type is, this is what the method name is, and this is what the return value is. Now let us understand about the execution. Okay, same thing, let us write this in the program. Let me take the same program. Now you just try to tell me the output. When I say main method, what would be the output for this? Can anyone say? Think and say.
Main method.
Only main method. Is there anything we will get apart from the main method?
No, sir.
No. Good. Correct. Only the main method we will get. So literally what is happening behind the scenes, okay? I have been telling you many number of times, isn't it? Whatever the instruction that you place in the main method, only that will get executed. Yes or no? Didn't I tell you? Can I get yes from everyone? What are the instructions that I am keeping in the main method? Only that instruction will get executed, right? So usually we do what? We perform the compilation. Okay, compilation will come into the picture, which is looking for syntactical errors. Okay, after that the JVM will come into the picture, which is going to create the main thread. Right? JVM is going to do what? JVM is going to create the main thread. The main thread will get access only to the main method. Isn't it? Will get access to only to the main method. And in the main method, there is only one instruction, which is what? Main method itself. That's why that is getting executed. Now my requirement is, I want to execute this addition method. I want to execute this addition method. How is that really possible? How is it possible means, you have to find a way to transfer the control from the main method to the addition method. There should be a way to transfer the control. Right? How you can do that in Java? How you can transfer the control from the main method to the other method, so that method, the body of that method gets executed. Right? This is the question. Okay. The focus here. How to transfer the control from the main method to the other user defined method. Fine. Simple answer is what? By creating an object. By creating an object. Now the question comes. I can say that the control, you can transfer the control from main method to the other user defined method by creating an object. You can transfer the control from the main method to the other user by creating an object. How to create an object? The follow-up question. What is an object? How to create an object? How to create an object? Now focus here for any class. For example, if I am taking class A, my class A can have any number of instructions. It can have it can have variables, it can have methods, it can have constructors. Okay, there are so many things that you can place in one single class, right? But if someone is asking me, right, you know what is a class? Class is a blueprint, but you want to create an object for this. Yesterday I was telling you, the carpenter, like if you want to design a table, you approach carpenter. Carpenter will ask you for the sketch and the plan. Dimensions, he will ask you what kind of, what are the dimensions, on which dimensions you're looking for, looking to design a table. Based upon the dimensions, he will be making out the actual table. right? Likewise, if you have a design, class is talking about design. But if you want to execute the variables or methods or the other functionalities, you have to create an object. The syntax for creating an object means take the class name, okay, and you can define any user defined name. Reference variable, you can call it as reference variable, followed by new keyword, right, and again class. Syntax to create an object. Okay, what is that class name? Class name is a syntax, right? I mean, class name followed by the reference variable. This can be anything, meaningful name, any meaningful name, meaningful. Okay, followed by the new keyword, followed by the class name, and opening simple and closing simple brackets, and the terminator or the semicolon. I want to convert this. I want to substitute this. Okay, I want to substitute this for this class. Okay, what would be the object for my class A? Class name is what? A itself. Name of the class is A, no? A. Reference variable, you can give anything. Let me take, for the simplicity, let me take small a. Okay, and after this new keyword, let me use the same new keyword here. Substitute the class name, which is what? A itself. Okay, and take simple brackets opening and closing, and place a semicolon. Object is created. Okay, now you tell me what is the how object is created for class. This is a class B. How the object is created? Tell me.
Class name.
Yeah, tell complete thing.
Class name reference variable.
Yeah. I mean, B reference variable. Anything you can give. New B.
Anything.
Okay. For any given class, this is how we create an object. But the question is, see what would happen when you create an object. I will give you the small, a kind of small analogy I will give you now. Let me go back to the paint screen. Okay, now what I want to do is, for example, let me take, I have a class car, okay. Name of the class is car. Inside this car, I am taking a kind of data type called price. I am saying price of this car is something like 50,000 or 5,000 or 5 lakhs. I am saying, okay, 5 lakhs. And also I have a method, a kind of method like integer speed. Okay, speed. So this method is going to give the behavioral output. System.out.println. It says the actual speed of the car. I can say it like 100 kilometers per hour. Behavior means actual behavior. This is the kind of what? Property. Property means the actual data, right? You can have price, you can have, okay, this entity is called behavior. Okay, this behavior is something, a kind of variable thing. It is not a fixed thing. Based upon the acceleration, the speed gets increased or decreased, right? So if ever I want to create an object for this, right, what is the syntax to create an object for my class? Can anyone help me with that? Syntax. I mean, not syntax, how the object can be created. For class car, yeah, car, any name, user variable name you can give, yeah, equal to new car, isn't it? The moment you do this, okay, the moment you create an object, behind the scenes, so many things will happen in the memory. For this new keyword, what happens is going to create an object. A memory will be created. Forget about the size and forget about the area, okay. Just think like, okay, a memory gets created in the RAM area. We call it as the heap area. We will discuss about in the future. Or no, memory gets created. This memory is going to store, only one thing, which is what? The variables or the properties. What it is going to store here? How many properties you have? You have only one property here. Property is nothing but the values that you are assigning to a variable by using the data, not the method. Properties I am talking about. It is going to store the price. Price equal to what price we have given here. The same price, the same value will be given here, right? And it is going to have a reference variable. The reference variable is the address of this memory. What is the address of this memory? C is the address, right? We have given C here, isn't it? C will be the address, right? and there will be a stack created. Okay? A stack will be created. This tag is going to store the method names. Okay, method name is like what? Speed is the method name. Speed is the method. Okay, and this is going to have a reference like here. Okay, now you observe one thing. You are using the reference variable to address an object. At the same time, this reference variable is also used to store the methods in the stack area. You call this, for now just think it as a stack. Okay, now if I ask you, when you create an object will be created. Object is going to store the variables. At the same time, a stack area will be created. Stack area will be going to store the methods. But these methods and this object as well as the stack area is going to have the reference. What is that reference? The reference name that you have given, which is C. Okay, sir. How this is going to help us to call the method, to invoke the method? Okay, let us understand that this is our code, isn't it? This is our code. If I want to transfer my control from the main method to this user defined method, always remember, first tell me in which class this addition is. Tell me the name of the class where you have placed the addition method. What is the name of the class that is storing the addition method? A, A is the name of the class, right? Inside this class you have addition method. You want to call this addition method. Blindly create object. How to create an object for this class? Hello?
A
obj equal to a equal anything. A equal to a. Okay, the moment you create this, okay, let us discuss this example. The moment you create this, okay, so the moment you create this a equal to new a, okay, an object will be created. Okay, a memory area get created, and reference variable is going to be what? A itself, right? A stack area will be created, and if you see, there are no variables here. Okay, you are not defining any so you have defined the variables inside the method. It is inside the method level, but in the class level there are no variables, right? So that's why it is not going to store any variables. In the previous example, the variable names are given in the class level, so this is outside the method, right? So that's why it is going to get stored in the method, inside this object, but this time it is not going to get stored because it is inside the method. So it is not going to get stored inside here. But a stack area will be created. Okay, now understand the flow. Stack area will be created. Okay, delete. Okay. Now the moment you start executing this, okay, so the main thread gets main method gets main thread gets access to the main method. First instruction will be executed. Because of this instruction, only the object creation is happening, and inside the stack area you have something like the method addition. Okay, this addition method is referring to the variable what? Variable A. Okay, still we are not able to call the method. Still the control is not getting transferred to this area. Only because of this object creation. In the memory level, these things are happening. But my intention is I want to transfer this to this, transfer the control to access to the addition method. How I can do that? Very simple. After this, use this reference variable name. Okay, A, use the dot operator. Dot. Which method you want to call? Addition method. Copy that and paste it here. Okay, now you are saying that, okay, by using the reference variable of the object, okay, by using the reference variable of the object, you are in a position to transfer the control which is there inside the main method to which method? To the addition method. So based upon the calling, based upon the call, it sees a dot addition. Okay, A is referred to the addition method, right? A is referred to the addition method in the stack area. The control will directly transfer to the addition method. Now all the instructions inside the addition method gets executed. If you ask me what is the first instruction inside the addition method, integer a equal to 10. Okay, two memory areas will be allocated. One is 10. Okay, and it is going to be what? A. a equal to 10. Okay, what is the second line? Integer b equal to 20, right? So 20 will be here, and you have what? Have b, right? And what is the third line? Third line is what? The summation of a and b. You want to print that, okay? You just want to print that a plus b. So now we are declaring the print statement. When you print it, okay, there are this is going to print the information in the console. So in the console level, something is happening. In the console level, you would see 30, but the things that you don't see is the things that is happening in the memory level. These things you don't see. Even though if you don't see these things, it's your job to assume that these things are happening in the memory area. Memory level. So this is the console area. Console area is the things that you are able to see. Only if you imagine these things, okay, you are able to see these things actually. Right? Let me execute this code if you are getting the right answer or not. Java C space a.java, Java space main method 30. Main method. Now you would ask me, sir, you said that you have to use the return keyword. When the return type is void, using the return keyword is an optional. Even if you use it, no problem. The output will be same. Even if you don't use it, no problem. Because you are not returning anything. So that's why there is no significance for this return keyword. You are not returning anything. That's why you are leaving it empty. Right? Now look at this. See, I have written this addition method for one time. But I have a control to call this method over and over again. If I want to call this method, again I can call. If I call this method for 3 times, I can call. For 4 times, I can call. Repetition. I am doing this action repeatedly, which is also called as the same piece of code. The same method is getting executed repeatedly. I was telling you, in the theory, I have stated very clearly that the methods are used for what? The code reusability. The code reusability. So don't you think that I am able to give the justification for this reusability word? Yes, no? Are you getting this? What happens? Now tell me what would be the output if let me remove this. Now you tell me what would be the output. Think and tell me. Hello? Hello?
It will print 330s, 430.
Correct. Good. Because the same addition method is being called over and over again. You will see 30, 30, 30, 30, 4 times 30. Right? So one time you are writing the method and you are able to call that method over and over again, so that you are doing the repetition. Same method is getting displayed. Now if I ask you, okay, we are not taking any parameters, we are not taking any access modifier. So if we are not taking any access modifier, default access modifier, we are not taking any exception. So we have just taken a statements like this. Simply our statements are looking like this. So this is something that is happening without the return type. Now I want to do this with the return type. I am just changing the keyword to integer, int. So when I change int, now you see what is the difference between the void method and what is the difference between this method. Now you see the calculation a plus b. Okay. Now let me remove this. Okay. Let me use only one addition. Now, can you tell me what would be the answer? If you think logically and tell me, if you're not able to tell, I will help you out.
Nothing will be printed.
Nothing will be printed. Perfect answer. Why nothing will be printed? I will tell you that. I will give you an explanation. Okay. Now we have to focus on 2 things, guys. Let me copy this. So this is our code. Okay. Always remember, okay, this is one of the methods. Now this time I am using the return type as integer. I have taken the primitive data type as integer. So when this is integer, the value that we are returning here should also be integer. Both should be matching. Both should be matching. Ideally, when you call the addition method, it is just like, it is a kind of a system. Okay, the method is a kind of system. This method is a kind of system. Addition is a method, a kind of system. When you just invoke this method, when you just call this method, right, it is something like request. You are sending a request, okay, but this time it is going to give a response. Every time you call this method in the form of request, after calling this method, you will get a response. how the response will be generated based upon the request. So addition is the method, right? So inside that you are performing some arithmetic operation, right? There is something like a equal to 10, integer a equal to 10, integer b equal to 20. Okay, and these two things are getting evaluated, and it is returning what? It is returning 30. So every time you call this method, this 30 number 30 will be given to you. If you are calling this method for the first time, 30 will be given. If you are calling this method for the second time, 30 will be given. If you are calling this method for the third time, 30 will be given. Every time with this method, it is going to give you 30. Right? Now see the control, right? The control will always start from the main method, right? So from the main method, the first instruction is object creation. A equal to new a, which is nothing but an object will be created, and this is going to get a reference variable like a. So no variables are there in the class level, so it is going to be empty. And again there will be a stack area. Inside the stack area, it is going to store the methods. So what is the method that we have? We have the addition method, and this is also going to share the same reference, which is what? Which is the a itself. Is the a itself, right? So because of this first line, okay, in the memory these things are happening. You should imagine this. These things are happening in the memory. What is the second line says? Next instruction, the main method, a dot addition. So you are trying to take the help of reference variable, and you are calling the addition method. It means the control will be transferred to what? The control will be transferred to the addition. It will check for the addition method. Of course, there is an addition method. The control will be transferred here, right? So first instruction is what? 10. So somewhere in the memory, it is going to store the 10, and the reference variable is what? A. And again somewhere in the memory it is going to store 20, right? Again the reference variable is what? B here. So memory level, you have to imagine this memory things also. After this, it is saying, it is returning a plus b. What is a? What is b? A is 10, right? And b is what? B is 20, right? So it is going to do the arithmetic operation on a and b, and it is going to return what? 30. A plus b, 10 plus 20 is 30, right? So after executing this method, it has to come back to the same place where it was called. So from where the control was transferred, it will be coming back here, right? So this 30 is just being carried by the control, but the a dot addition command is not trying to store this, which means this 30 will be like floating somewhere in the memory. It will be floating like that. So there is no address for this 30. Need to give an address for this 30. It is just like you are just hitting the addition method. You are just hitting the addition method, and it is returning 30. But this 30 is it gets floating somewhere in the memory. You have to find a way to store this value to the particular variable with the data type, right? So how you can achieve this? I can use what? I have to store, okay, this is going to collect 30 here. I need to store this 30 by assigning it to the user defined variable name. Let me take the variable name as sum, okay, and this 30 is of what type? Integer type, right? So I will be using the integer type here. Okay, now even if you do this, okay, because of this line, what are the changes that would happen behind the scenes? Because of this line, because of this piece of line, now the 30 will be collected. Okay, this 30 is going to get an address. What is the name of the address? Sum is a reference variable, right? Sum is a reference variable. Memory level, you have found a way to store this floating value in the memory by you have declared a variable name like sum. Now you can access to this sum. How to access to this sum? Sum dot out dot println, right? Just use the reference variable sum. Now tell me what would be the answer? 30, because you are able to print that. So from here object is created, object creation. From here what? You are doing the method call. But this is not an ordinary method. This is a method which is returning something. What is the value that is returning? 10 plus 20, and it is returning 30. Right? This 30 will be coming here, and you want to store the value 30 to the user defined variable name, which is sum itself, by using the integer data. Why integer here? Because it is returning integer here. Value is integer here. That's why you are using integer here. Right? After this, you are trying to access to the sum variable, and which is going to return 30 here. 30. Now what if I do, you can alternately do many operations. If I say, what would be the answer? Now what would be the answer now?
40, 50.
Correct. Now tell me what would be the answer. Think and tell me. Okay, I'm just trying to
30, 30, 40,
30.
40, 50.
Think again. Okay, how many times this method getting? You see, this method is getting executed for how many times?
Okay, 30. Yeah, it's getting.
Should be what? 30, 40, 30, 50, right? Am I correct? Let me execute this. 30, 40, 50, yeah? Why 30, 40, 50?
Only once we have called.
Okay, sorry. I have called only once, correct. You are right. Correct, 30, 40, 50. Because for the first time, okay, it is returning 30 here, isn't it? I mean, 30 gets printed. Correct. 30 gets printed and it is returning what? It is returning 30 itself. Right? So 30 plus 10 here. Okay, and 30 plus 20 here. Good observation. Right? So I mean, we have just completed. We have just got some idea about what is a return type now. So when you are using int here, you should also be using what? Should also be using int here. Now I can. Anyone is talking? Hello. Okay. See, I can do like I can use addition. Okay, I can do many operations here. I can do addition. I can copy these. I can paste it. I can take another method like subtraction, sub method. Like this time it is going to, let me remove this, not required. Let me remove this. Right, a minus b. Okay, now I have two methods here. Now I have what? Addition method is also there and subtraction method is also there. Right, let me take 100 here. Okay, with one object, by creating object only once, I can also do like this. Instead of taking the reference variable name separately, I can just declare that method call inside the system.out.println. What is a method call? If you want to call addition method, use the reference variable a dot addition. This is also possible. You can declare the method call directly here. The floating value will be printed, but you're not storing this, but you can see this in the console. You're not storing the value that is returned, but you are able to see this in the console. Not capturing the return type. You're just making sure that this is getting displayed in the console. What is the answer now? Can anyone tell me?
30, 80.
30, 80. Correct. Good. 30, 80. Right. Now the takeaway. Now you tell me the answers. If I have a method, integer, method name is a. Okay. Tell me valid or invalid. Valid or invalid? Remember, okay, don't think much. So this is the return type. Okay, when return type is integer, always you have to return the integer, but true is something like boolean. No, true is something like boolean data type. It is not accepted. Both should match, right? So when you are using the return type as integer, you should return the integer next to the return keyword. Okay, so this is invalid, right? Now you tell me valid or invalid. Saying byte, okay, byte a. Okay, return, I am saying return 200. Tell me valid or invalid. Think and tell me. Valid, huh?
Not valid.
Correct. Not valid, because if you see the number 200, it is what? It is exceeding the byte range, right? Byte capacity is still 127, isn't it? but you're returning a value that is out of the byte range, so invalid. This is invalid, right? Now you tell me valid or invalid. Byte key. Tell me valid or invalid.
Invalid.
Invalid, because void is the return type. You cannot return anything. Okay, it should be written, or you can, if you want, you can remove this return also. Okay, these are the a kind of what? These are the kind of the syntactical rules. Okay, I can say that by this I can conclude that what conclusion can I give? Please be informed that the return type is declared with a primitive data type. The method needs to pass the value the matching data type or less than the value less than that data type according to the promotion chart. According to the promotion chart. Right, we will understand this. What is a promotion chart? We know sometimes there will be a situations where you will be like passing the float value. For example, you will be using double type as double, name of the method x, but you would be returning something like the integer when return 100.00f. So the data type that you have declared for the return type is double, but you are returning something which is of a different data type. But even though this is a different data type, but still the compiler will not throw any error because the returned value is obviously lesser than this data type. Making sense, everyone? Because this is a float. We are returning float, which is according to the promotion chart. The float is what? A lesser data type. You can return a value of lesser data type, not a value that is of a. For example, we are using a byte here. You cannot return a value that is more than byte. You cannot return an integer value. In this case, it is not accepted. Okay. The vice versa is accepted. Vice versa means like you can use long here, but you can return the integer value. This is possible. We will see these combinations in the tomorrow's class. Okay, so let me know if you have understood today's class or you need some more clarification. Can anyone say? Are you good with the method declaration? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.